Hello again and welcome to another Warhammer 40k Imperial Guard tactics video. So today we're going to take a look at close combat weapons for the Imperial Guard. We're going to be focusing on infantry based ones, so we're not going to be looking at things like Bulgrin Mauls or Sentinel Chainswords or Hunting Lances. They're unique ones. We're talking about power weapons which you can give to your sergeants, potentially to your Lord Commissars, your officers, those kinds of weapons. So essentially, power weapons have got much cheaper for the Guard. I mean, really cheaper. I mean, it used to be 15 points for a power sword. Now it's 4 points. It used to be 15 points for a power axe. Now it's 5. It used to be 25 points for a power fist. Now it's 10 points. I mean, it really is much cheaper to run these power weapons now. And it's kind of a case of, well, it would be rude not to take them. I mean, I'm not saying go out there and equip every single sergeant with a bloody power weapon, but what I am saying now is all those times when you had officer models or sergeant models, I've got loads of them as Mordian Iron Guard, where the guy was quite obviously wielding a power weapon, but you had to be like, well, no, I don't want to pay 50 points for them to have a power weapon, it's just going to be a regular weapon. And it didn't quite look right. You have to worry about that now. You might as well pay for it. I mean, if you had 2 or 3 models in the army with them, now it's only going to cost you the same as it used to cost you to get one power weapon. Sometimes even cheaper. So, anyway, let's take a look at the big 4: power axe, power sword, power mace, power maul, and power fist. So, power sword is 4 points, and it is strength user as always. AP -3. Damage 1. Okay, that's pretty interesting because this weapon basically you have to strike at your own strength, but it has the most AP. Essentially, if you hit with this weapon and if you wound with this weapon, there's a very good chance you're just going to kill what you're attacking. If it's another infantry based model, if you're fighting a tactical marine, for example, there's a very good chance that you'll just, with your 2 attacks, one of them will hit, then you've got 33% chance to wound him. It's a good chance if you wound him, he's only got a 6+ save to stop you, and you'll just kill him. So power swords are actually, I feel, very good. Power axes are +1 strength, AP -2, damage 1. So their role has changed slightly. They used to be the best at cutting through armour. On the old system, they used to be AP2, and the sword was only AP3. Now the system's all changed. The power sword is AP -3, which means it cuts through armour quite a bit better than the power axe. If you're hitting a space marine with a power axe, he's still going to get a 5+ save, which is interesting. I mean, let's work out the maths here. Someone will have to tell me in the comments, but it seems like it's better to take a power sword as a guardsman, because let's say you've got a sergeant with 2 attacks. You've both got both are likely to hit with 1. Now, power sword only has a 33% chance of wounding the marine, but the power axe has a 50% chance. But then the space marine itself has a 5+ save versus only having a 6+ save. To me, it just feels like taking a power sword is better. I like to remove my opponent's chance of fucking me, basically. The amount of times where I have had my opponent has said to make, especially in the old system, but it's still true in the current system, the amount of times my opponent said to make a 5+ save and it feels like he's got a 2+ save. Goddamn, back in 6th, 7th edition with Death Company with the 5+ feel no pain, they always used to pass it. In the current edition with Knights with their 5+ Iron Shield, feels like they've got a 3+ save rather than a 5+ Iron Shield save. So I maybe have a bit of an irrational fear of 5+ saves, but to me, I would rather make my opponent have only have a 6+ save, because at that point it's kind of a sure thing. You've got through, right? He's almost certainly going to die. Whereas the Power Axe is like, okay, I put the effort into to get the hit, get the wound, but now there's still a semi-decent chance he's going to pass. So doesn't feel as great. Power Mauls are interesting. +2 strength, AP -1, 1 damage, and they're only 4 points. So this is very much a guard weapon in terms of traditional guard thinking, which is throw enough shit at a wall to see if it sticks. The Power Sword operates on the principle of go big or go home in a funny sort of way. The go big or go home, which is if I'm going to hit you, I want to have a very good chance of killing you. That's what the Power Sword does. If you manage to get that hit, you manage to get that wound, your opponent's as good as dead. The Power Maul, you could hit your opponent, and you might wound your opponent, but he's still got a 50-50 chance, especially if it's a Marine, if we're using this as an example. He's still got a 50-50 chance of being absolutely fine. There's no guarantee you've killed him. Yeah, you're throwing down more wounds on the unit. You're forcing your opponent to potentially take more saves. But there's no guarantee that even if you force him to take 3 or 4 saves, he won't just pass them all because it's a 4+ and he can do that. So, interesting with the Power Maul. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure I prefer the Power Sword over all of those. Just thinking about it, I just feel like the Power Sword. You know me, I like a go big or go home philosophy. I like to make sure once I've hit my opponent and they're going down, basically. That's what I want to make sure. Especially on characters where you're going to be dueling. Especially if you've got a commissar or someone else, like an officer, you need to make sure that you can kill your opponent. And the best way to do that is to remove his armor saves. That's the way I feel. I bet they've all statistically got like an equal chance in the hands of a guardsman, because they're only strength 3. But to me, it definitely feels like the Power Sword is the best option for the Imperial Guard. So it's just so cheap. It's just 4 points. I'm probably going to be taking them on all those Mordian sergeants, even though it doesn't really make sense just because they're so cheap. Now, Power Fists are an interesting one. Power Fists are strength ×2, AP -3, D3 damage, but you must subtract 1 to hit when using this weapon. I think they're only 10 points, and I think there's a bloody good reason why they're only 10 points. I don't think Power Fists are all that good anymore. I used to take Power Fists because, again, it fit in with my go big or go home policy, which I had in 7th edition, which was, if I hit you, I want to hurt you. And the Power Fist worked on the principle of, if I hit a Marine with a Power Fist, I'm going to wound him on 2s. That's gone, and he's not going to get an armor save. That's gone now. If I hit a Marine with a Power Fist, I wound him on 3s. If I hit a Marine with a Power Maul, I wound him on 3s. The -3 damage is okay, but it's no better than a Power Sword. The D3 damage is kind of nice. The D3 damage is kind of nice. But they're not cheap enough just to spam them. So where would I put such a weapon? Well, I am thinking that you want to avoid putting it on Sergeant and Basic Officer models. Okay. That is what I am thinking. I feel like if you put it on a sergeant equivalent, he's only going to be hitting on a 5+, and he's only going to be wounding on a 3+. I mean, it just doesn't seem like a good idea. Putting it on a basic officer means you're only going to be hitting 50% of the time, and again, you're only going to be wounding on a 3+. So, no, I just don't think it's a good idea. Where I think it is very good is on a model that hits on a 2+, aka the Lord Commissar. And I plan on running in my up-and-coming pure infantry armies that I'm starting to roll out again. I plan on running 2 or 3 Lord Commissars with Power Fists. I've definitely got 2 that I want to use because I've got 2 awesome Power Fist models. The reason I think this is if you're going up against, let's say, for example, a Space Marine hero, many of which have got toughness 5, you're going to be hitting them on 3s, which means you've got, as a Lord Commissar, 2 attacks. It means you're going to hit with 2, and then you get to wound on 3s. Now that means that there's a good chance you're going to wound with both. See, Power Fists are good at smacking down tough infantry. Not Marine equivalent infantry, but better than Marine equivalent. Anything that's toughness 5. Anything that's toughness 5, Power Fists are designed to kill them. And guess what? That's what most characters are. So if you get a Lord Commissar, you get him in there, he's got 3 attacks, he's probably going to hit, he could hit with, if you've got a priest nearby, he can hit with all 3. He's going to wound the 2 to 3 attacks. Your opponent, not every enemy character has an invulnerable save. I mean, I know Space Marine captains come with a 4+, but not every character comes with that. So if you're, for example, taking on, because generally speaking, your Imperial Guard characters, you're going to want, if you're going to use them as close combat characters, you want to pick on enemy support characters rather than enemy combat characters. So, for example, librarians. Like most librarians, correct me if I'm wrong, don't have an invulnerable save unless they've used a psychic power to gain it. So you can go up to them, you can put 2 attacks down, get potentially 2 wounds through, manage 3 to their armor save. Many of them that will mean either a 5+ or a 6+. Not a great save. Potentially you could get 2 wounds through. Bam, D3 wounds each. There's a chance you could one bop a character. There's a chance. So I feel like that's what Power Fists are designed for, killing multi-wound models. I think if you've got a bunch of Primaris Marines coming at you as well, and you've gunned most of them down, but they've gotten amongst your lines, it's not the worst idea just to do a heroic intervention and use your Lord Commissar with Power Fists to fucking punch out the last couple of Primaris. It's not a bad idea at all. Also, having Strength 6 means that if you have to, going up against most vehicles, you can wound them on 5s. And they're not the worst odds in the world. So, where would I use these things then? Well, I think Power Swords should go on regular line infantry squads. I think officers in general shouldn't really, from a competitive standpoint, be given any power weapons. You don't want your officers in combat, you want your officers supporting. If you're going to buy your officer a power sword, instead consider buying them a plasma pistol. It's pretty much the same points cost, but they're going to get a hell of a lot more usage out of the plasma pistol. A hell of a lot, especially when big enemy combat monsters start reaching your front lines. Every plasma shot counts. Or bolter. Avoid bolt pistols. Or a shotgun for free, obviously. So that's what your officers want to be running. Sergeants, I would generally avoid putting power weapons on your sergeants unless it's rule of cool, or you are not using conscripts as your first line squads and instead you're using infantry squads. I think there is something to be said for a cheap disposable infantry squad that has a flamer and a power sword. I think there's something to be said for that. Definitely, if you've got, all you need to happen is for your opponent to charge in an assault marine squad, for example. You kill one with a flamer, flamer's got its points back. the enemy chop you to pieces a little bit, but you've still got your sergeant left. Your sergeant manages to get a lucky swing in, a lucky jab in with his power sword. He takes one down. Power sword's paid for itself. So I think on speed bump squads, interestingly, squads you know are going to get charged. You're almost guaranteed you know they're going to get charged. Having a cheeky power weapon in there isn't the worst idea. And I think regular commissars, I would avoid giving them power weapons. Lord commissars, I feel like if you want to give them a power weapon, then you give them a power fist. Because I feel like if you're having a bit of fun with your guard army, and you've got enough commissars already, but you need a few extra HQ choices to get into the brigade detachment or multiple battalions, whatever it is. You know, you can have fun with a few punchy commissars. I'm going to try a few punchy commissars. Honestly, I am. I've got my 2,000 point list. I've worked out. I mentioned it in my other video. 288 blokes, 2,000 point list. I've got 3 commissars in there. 2 of them with power fists. I'm going to try some punchy power fists. I'm going to try and surprise my opponent. See what happens. They could be terrible, but if they work, then, you know, that's good. Anyway, hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Tell me if someone could do the maths on the actual math hammer on power weapons and put it in a comment, that would be great. I'm just going off gut instinct here, guys. I'm going off what I have used in combat so far. And it definitely seems to be like power swords are leading the way. I mean, on a side note, I'm putting power swords on most of my Black Templars because I feel like power swords are the best. I could be wrong. I just feel like power swords are great now. It's been a long time since I've been able to use them. I want to use them a lot. So yeah, of course, leave lots of comments. Tell me some success stories you've had with various power weapons. Tell me if there's some that, you know, power mauls are terrible. But yeah, overall, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time.